Barry Gibb is one of the most recognizable names in the music industry, but there is a story of secrets and hardship hidden behind the glamour of fame. Surprising fans and leaving them wondering what happened behind the scenes, Barry Gibb's son, now 52, confirmed what everyone suspected. What was Barry Gibb's life like before he became famous? Why was it kept secret for so long? What could be so shocking? Watch on to find out. Early life and musical beginnings. It is crucial to establish Barry's identity before delving into the specifics of what his son revealed. An inspiring story of resilience, family, and music unfolds in the life of Barry Gibb, the eldest of the legendary Gibb brothers. Born on the Isle of Man on the 1st of September 1946, Barry went through a lot of transformations and musical influences in his early years. His mom, Barbara, was a phenomenal singer, and his dad, Hugh Gibb, was a band leader and drummer. With the help of this musical score, Barry and his twin brothers, Robin and Maurice, were able to embark on an incredible journey. Barry demonstrated an innate talent for rhythm and melody at an early age, perhaps influenced by his musical household. Additionally, he received his first guitar for Christmas when he was just 10 years old. This present ignited a fire within him that would influence not just his own life, but also the lives of countless fans worldwide. Due to his father's job, the Gibb family experienced a nomadic lifestyle when he was growing up. Thus, they had plenty of exciting experiences. In 1955, they settled down in Manchester, England. This is where Barry and his brothers originally formed their band, which they christened the Rattlesnakes, a catchy moniker. As the lead singer and guitarist, Barry was joined by his brothers Robin and Maurice, as well as other local friends. By playing cover versions of hits by artists like Cliff Richard and Buddy Holly, they were able to hone their skills and create their sound. Their debut performance was in December 1957 at Manchester's Gaumont Theatre. The energy and enthusiasm of the performance shone through, although they encountered an unforeseen obstacle by surpassing their targeted record. They took a stand and capitalized on the situation by delivering an unexpected live performance that truly left the crowd wanting more. Their local performance caught the attention of Brisbane DJ Bill Gates, who would go on to play a significant part in their career. Barry started selling sodas at the Redcliffe Speedway in Australia after relocating there in 1958. He would sing with Robin and Maurice to attract clients. Their shouts reverberated throughout the arena, reaching not just the racegoers but also the crew members who worked tirelessly behind the scenes. The Gibb brothers were the musical equivalent of supermodels' talented, harmonious siblings with an unquenchable thirst for success. Did the Bee Gees moniker change over time? Let's continue exploring. Formation of the Bee Gees and rise to fame. Barry moved on from selling sodas to playing at the Speedway via the PA system by 1959. Local talent scouts took notice of them shortly after their harmonies captivated listeners. Their true success, however, did not begin until they emigrated to Australia in search of improved prospects. After rebranding themselves as the Bee Gees, they began performing at Australia's Redcliffe Speedway. Spicks and Specks, their debut single, was a smashing success thanks to the assistance of local DJ Bill Gates. Their incredible vocal harmonies were on full display in this single, which served as their first major break. I didn't realize that until much later. The Beachcombers Hotel in Surfers Paradise was their residence of choice in September 1962. Now we get to the exciting part. After hearing about them, Australian music sensation Colonel Joy decided to check them out. Their harmonies were so impressive that Joy offered to help them secure a recording deal in exchange for relocating to Sydney. This was simply too fantastic of a chance to pass up. Now was their chance to become famous. After gathering their belongings, the Gibb brothers set out for Sydney. They began releasing music under Festival Records' main label and quickly found themselves serving as opening acts for major artists such as Chubby Checker. Released in 1963, Barry's debut song, The Battle of Blue and Grey, showcased his talent for composing, which would go on to become one of his greatest strengths. Barry wrote all of the Bee Gees songs that were released during this time. The brothers' distinctive harmonies and influences from classic rock bands like the Beatles were evident early on. The foundation was laid for an incredible rise to prominence when songs like Words and To Love Somebody began to gain popularity. Relocating to England was a watershed moment. Due to their early success in Australia, the Bee Gees returned to England in 1967 with high hopes. Robert Stigwood, a powerful player in the music industry, noticed their potential and signed them. Their success would depend on this collaboration. The Bee Gees' debut studio album came out later that year. Among these were the 1,971 smash hit To Love Somebody and the 1,941 New York mining disaster. The tracks showcased the brothers' beautiful harmonies in addition to Barry's skill as a lyricist. Music fans were ecstatic at the time because they could envision massive audiences coming in from the United Kingdom and the United States to hear these fresh sounds. Instantly beloved for its poignant melody and heartfelt lyrics, New York Mining Disaster 1941 became a classic. To Love Somebody has become a classic due to the numerous artists who have covered it. At last, the Bee Gees had received formal recognition. As the 60s came to a close, the Bee Gees were enjoying a string of hits after smash. It was on songs like Massachusetts and I've Got to Get a Message to You that they demonstrated their ability to blend pop with profound emotional content. They became household names throughout the world with each new album. Despite the growing interest in the brothers, they still faced challenges. A lot was happening in the music industry at once. While rock was getting ready to steal the show, disco was still on the way. Not knowing how to evolve while staying true to their roots, the Bee Gees found themselves at a crossroads. While this was going on, they experimented with a wide range of sounds and methods. Horizontal, released in 1968, and Idea, released in 1969, were both brimming with innovative songs that pushed the boundaries of music. Regardless, they still had challenges in maintaining consistent commercial success despite these efforts. However, as the spotlight shone brighter, conflicts simmered under the surface. It was almost time for the Bee Gees' unstoppable rise to end. A little break, getting back into the swing of things. The Bee Gees' internal strife began from the group's inception. After achieving great popularity in the late 1960s with songs like To Love Somebody and New York Mining Disaster 1941 Inches, the brothers went through their first major breakup in 1969. Because of an argument over the direction their music was taking, Barry and Robin decided to take a hiatus. Since Barry had taken center stage, Robin had been overshadowed. Furious, he decided to pursue a career as a solo artist. Just think of the seismic shift that occurred in the music industry all those years ago. A breakup was imminent among three brothers who had become famous together. Morris and Barry kept working together, and in 1970, they released Cucumber Castle. However, the loss of Robin was profound. Although they were able to patch things up in the end, the animosity between the brothers was a precursor to more serious problems that would crop up later in their careers. Coincident with the rise of disco in the mid-1970s, the Bee Gees embraced a new sound. They wholeheartedly embraced this genre in their 1975 album, Main Course. The now iconic falsetto, a vocal style that would become linked with disco, was initially used on Jive Talkin' by Barry. As a landmark album, Jive Talkin' catapulted the Bee Gees to the top of the charts throughout the world. They were no longer only pop vocalists. They had transformed into innovative musical forces. Hits like Nights on Broadway and other albums released during this period solidified their place in disco history. On the other hand, their 1,977 breakthrough hit, Saturday Night Fever, propelled them to superstardom. Among the most notable hits from the album, Night Fever, How Deep Is Your Love, and Stayin' Alive were all part of this soundtrack. With his rising falsetto and intricate harmonies, Barry accentuated the disco era's energy in every song. In particular, the disco classic Stayin' Alive became the rallying cry for a whole generation. Its infectious beat went well with survival-themed lyrics, allowing listeners to relate to tough times. The Bee Gees achieved unprecedented fame when Saturday Night Fever dominated charts throughout the globe and sold more than 40 million copies. Within weeks of starting with a single Winnebago, everyone on the trip got their very own luxury vehicle. Think about how out of the ordinary it must have been for these three brothers, who had previously played in small venues, to be scheduling massive shows all around the globe. But there was also a lot of stress that came with the great accomplishment. Barry reflected on this remarkable meeting in retrospect. You're either famous or ultra-famous. Sometimes it's too much. The constant touring, recording, and public appearances took a toll on their mental health. As time went on, their relationship became even more strained, due to their differing creative perspectives. When there aren't any established roles inside the band, disagreements arise over who should be in charge of certain projects. Robin longed for more creative freedom, whereas Barry usually took the lead due to his grand vision for their music. Tensions were building under the surface as a result of this tug-of-war. The enjoyable, rivalry-free days before they were famous were the best, according to interviews with Barry. However, as they achieved greater success, those dynamics shifted. He reminisced with a mix of emotions about how great our pre-fame days were. Instead of enjoying themselves while producing music together, arguments arose over who should have the lead. The early 1980s marked the beginning of the disco era's gradual disappearance from the public's memory. There was a junction at which the Bee Gees had to decide their next move. Despite their disco chart dominance with Saturday Night Fever, the band had a hard time adapting to new musical styles. As listeners gravitated toward more modern styles like rock and pop, their hitherto invincible appeal started to decline. On her 1980 album Guilty, Barbra Streisand extended an invitation for them to work together. It was a successful collaboration. More than 15 million copies were sold. Songs like Guilty demonstrated Barry's versatility as a songwriter and musician. There was just one more full-length album release by the Bee Gees on RSO, 1981's Living Eyes. In fact, the first public performance of a CD occurred on an episode of Tomorrow's World, a BBC show, and it was this record. The album failed to meet expectations, failing to make it into the US and UK Top 40. This was particularly true given the persistence of disco criticism at the time. Barry signed with MCA Records in August 1983, the same year he chose to go solo. Voyager, his debut solo album, was largely composed throughout the years 1983 and 1984. 3 solo albums by Robin How Old Are You, Secret Agent, and Walls Have Eyes were released in the 1980s. Hold Her in Your Hand, Maurice's second single, was also released. Tragedies befell Barry Gibb not once, not twice, but thrice, leaving him as the sole survivor among the glitter of fame. The Bee Gees' brushes with tremendous sorrow greatly impacted their legacy. Tragedies struck at the personal and professional levels alike when Barry Gibb's 3 brothers, Maurice, Robin, and Andy, passed away. The loss of each sibling brought its own special challenges and pain, illuminating the complexities of family, celebrity, and the human condition. Maurice Gibb, A Fall from Grace. Maurice Gibb, who was born on the 22nd of December 1949, made a significant impact on the development of the Bee Gees' sound. Notable among his many accomplishments are his mastery of the bass guitar and his incredible vocal harmonies, which were important in shaping the band. The worst day of his life, nevertheless, came on the 12th of January, 2003. Maurice was sent to Miami's Mount Sinai Medical Center after he expressed severe abdominal pain. The medical professionals diagnosed him with ischemia enteropathy, a condition characterized by intestinal twisting. The conditions in the hospital room suggest that Barry and Robin were understandably worried upon hearing news of their brother's operation. Amid emergency surgery to fix his colon that had been strangled, Maurice had a heart attack. Despite efforts to revive him, he passed away at the young age of 53. The autopsy revealed that his illness had restricted blood flow to his colon, which initiated a chain reaction that ultimately resulted in his untimely death. The illness known as cancer by Robin Gibb. Robin Gibb suffered from his sickness a few years after Maurice passed away. Robin Gibb, one of the famous Gibb twins, was born on the 22nd of December, 1949. He was noted for his distinctive falsetto voice and talent as a songwriter. Nonetheless, Robin's colon cancer had spread to his liver by 2011. Barry was deeply affected by the news. Already grieving the loss of one sister, he now faced the prospect of losing a second. Barry gave a moving interview in which he described his visit to the doctor to find out how sick Robin was. Due to my lack of knowledge, I had to see a doctor about Rob's condition, so I traveled to England to meet Robin to get to the bottom of things. Maybe other people knew, but I didn't know anything other than he seemed unhappy and unwell. I had to show my doctor a picture of Robin and ask him, "What exactly is going on here?" He then informed me that it was cancer, that the prognosis was probably 3 to 6 months, and that I should come to see him to try to fight the condition. Robin had several therapies and procedures. Throughout this whole ordeal, he remained optimistic and even performed several times while unwell. However, on the 20th of May 2012, at the age of 62, Robin passed away from kidney failure, despite his determination and refusal to give up. Barry was said to have been devastated when he heard the news. Known as the youngest tragedy, Andy Gibb, even before his brother's struggles came to light, Andy Gibb, the youngest of the Gibb brothers, was dealing with his own personal problems. Born on the 5th of March 1958, Andy had a successful solo career in the late 1970s, during which he achieved fame with songs like I Just Want to Be Your Everything and Shadow Dancing, but his rise to fame came at a price. For years, Andy struggled with substance abuse, a struggle made all the more difficult by the demands of trying to live up to his brother's great achievements. By this time, his addiction had spiraled out of control and was becoming increasingly out of control. He lost contact with his family and friends and became increasingly distant from them. As Barry and Andy spoke for the last time, Barry sought to help Andy overcome his addiction using tough love techniques. However, just days later, Barry received a phone call informing him that Andy had died. Myocarditis, caused by a virus that causes inflammation of the heart and is exacerbated by years of drug addiction, was the cause of Andy's death on the 10th of March, 1988, just 5 days after he turned 30. In addition to affecting Barry, the deaths of Maurice Robin and Andy Gibb had a ripple effect on many people around the world who loved the music and creativity of both individuals. With each passing, Barry had to deal not only with his grief, but also with his regret over the unresolved tensions that existed in their relationship with each other. In interviews that followed these disasters, Barry frequently and openly discussed his feelings of isolation as the only surviving Gibb brother. Emotionally, he remarked, "I am the last man standing." This statement is significant. In addition to being a symbol of survival, it also represents the weight of memory, specifically the memories shared by brothers who once dreamed together. Barry has gone through periods of self-reflection about the decisions he has made throughout his life due to the emotional pain he felt after each of his brothers passed away. He often reflects on the ways that fame can make family relationships more difficult to maintain, as well as the ease with which misunderstandings can develop when one is constantly under the watchful eye of both fans and the media. Despite the heartbreaking losses he has endured, Barry has continued to work to honor his brother's legacy through his music and philanthropy. In addition to continuing to sing solo, he continues to honor their legacy by paying tribute to them at concerts and other events dedicated to their contributions to music history. Over the past few years, he has been vocal about the need to raise awareness about mental health, urging those who are going through similar issues in families affected by addiction or illness to not be afraid to seek help or any support system that is accessible to them in their surroundings. A better version of Barry Gibb emerges as he emerges from the shadow of his loss. Let's take an interesting look at his past relationships, shall we? Stay tuned to find out more. Barry's personal life. Barry Gibb's relationship with Maureen Bates is a significant chapter in his life, since it began with youthful love, progressed to an early marriage, and ultimately ended with their separation. Their trip began in the middle of the 1960s when Barry was just beginning to become well-known with the Bee Gees. It portrays the challenges of balancing personal relationships while keeping up with the expectations of a celebrity lifestyle. Maureen Bates was the first person Barry Gibb had met. At the time, he was only 18 years old and was still getting used to the new music industry. In order to pursue their goals, the Bee Gees had gone all the way from England to Australia, where they were only beginning to establish themselves when they arrived. Barry became interested in Maureen, a local girl from Redcliffe, Queensland, because of her attractiveness. They had a youthful energy that is typically associated with first marriages, and they fell in love quite quickly. It was in opposition to Barry's quickly expanding career that their friendship initially began. Spicks and Specks was one of the tunes that helped the Bee Gees become closer to one another when they began to achieve popularity. The two individuals enjoyed a whirlwind romance that was both hot and fascinating. On the 22nd of August 1966, Barry and Maureen married at the wedding. At the time, Barry was only 19 years old. The Bee Gees were beginning to gain popularity on a global scale at this time, and Barry was making the transition from a rising star to a household name because of it. There were, however, a number of challenges associated with this rapid ascent. As time went on, the couple's relationship began to exhibit signs of deterioration. It was only 4 years after they had tied the knot that, by 1970, they were already beginning to drift apart. Following a great deal of contemplation and introspection over their relationship, Barry and Maureen decided to end their marriage in July of 1970. Shortly after that, the divorce was formalized so that both parties could begin their lives as they had always wanted to. In order for Barry to successfully navigate the emotional fallout of the split, while simultaneously diving deeply into his musical career, he had to confront the situation. Soon, he would be meeting Linda Gray, who would become his second wife and partner for the rest of his life. The relationship between Barry Gibbs and Linda Gray is a love tale that has stood the test of time. It is filled with moments of happiness, support, and a genuine connection. They started their adventure together in the late 1960s, when Barry was still establishing himself as a renowned figure in the world of music with the Bee Gees. This was the beginning of their journey together. In September of 1967, Barry and Linda were working on the set of the British music television show Top of the Pops when they first came into contact with one another. It was around this period that Linda had just been crowned Miss Edinburgh, and Barry was performing with his siblings all at the same time. Their lives were irrevocably altered as a result of her hosting that show. Following some time, Barry recalled that there was an instant connection between the two of them. Linda recalled a scenario from Piers Morgan's Life Tales, in which her friends observed Barry gazing at her and pushed her to approach him. Her friends were urging her to approach him. In any case, Barry approached her and inquired as to whether or not she would be interested in grabbing a cup of tea, which was the moment that marked the beginning of their romantic relationship. Their chemistry was immediately apparent from the beginning. At a funny turn of events, Barry subsequently disclosed that they had a sentimental moment together at a studio that was located nearby, more precisely inside the TARDIS that Doctor Who uses. As they were around Daleks, they laughed and embraced, so strengthening their connection in a way that will never be forgotten. An exchange of vows took place between the pair in London's Caxton Hall on the 1st of September 1970, which was Barry's 24th birthday. The significance of this date was shared by both of them. In addition to being a sign of their love for one another, it also represented a new beginning for Barry, who had finalized his divorce from his first wife, Maureen Bates, just 2 months previously. Barry frequently discussed how he thought that his marriage to Linda was a sign of destiny. Ever before they had their first encounter, he had been aware that she was a unique individual. These children were all born at the same time that their love story was still in the process of developing. In addition, the arrival of each child brought the family closer together as a unit and added new layers to the relationship that they had with one another. Over the course of their partnership, Barry has consistently lauded Linda for being an exceptional mother who was able to effectively raise their children while still affording him the opportunity to pursue his demanding music career. Throughout their marriage, Barry was confronted with some difficulties, the most significant of which were the untimely deaths of his brothers Morris and Robin Gibb. Although these occurrences had a significant impact on his mental state, Linda continued to be his unwavering supporter during these challenging times. Even though he was on the verge of giving up, she constantly urged him to continue pursuing his passion for music. Barry has repeatedly conveyed his appreciation to Linda for her unwavering support in interviews. As soon as she walked in, she told me, "You need to get off your behind. You possess your own life at this point." In addition to this, Linda was an essential component in assisting Barry in navigating his difficulties with addiction. Even though Maurice and Robin both struggled with substance misuse throughout their lives, Barry points to Linda as the person who helped him remain grounded. He went on to explain that I had to cope with the fact that my brothers were very much out there, but that I was fortunate. At the time, I was married to a woman who was not going to put up with it. Even though they have been married for more than half a century, Barry frequently ponders the factors that have contributed to the success of their partnership. He emphasizes the significance of laughter and mutual respect as essential components of their love that will survive for a long time. He informed the reporters that we laugh a lot at everything that is going on around us. In the year 2020, Barry and Linda celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary, which is a remarkable achievement that not many couples in their relationship ever achieve. Their love journey, which was full of memorable moments and accomplishments, was commemorated with a gathering that was hosted in their honor. Although they are proud grandparents to 7 grandchildren, Barry and Linda continue to create memories as a family even though they have 7 grandchildren. By sharing about these occasions on social media or by talking about them in conversations, they frequently demonstrate how close their family is. On the flip side of fame, Barry was involved in some unexpected incidents, including charges of adultery and an incident with Michael Jackson. Let's go a little bit back on that. Brewing controversies. The legendary Bee Gees' last member, Barry Gibb, has had a life full of controversy and incredible achievement. His musical skill is undeniable, but several events in his life have ignited arguments and conversations, shedding light on the intricacies of celebrity and personal relationships. His connection with Michael Jackson was at the center of one of the most interesting scandals involving Barry Gibb. Their 2002 single, All in My Name, was their first joint effort, but they did have some uncomfortable times when they were together. As time went on, Barry recalled having to gently request that Jackson vacate his residence due to the latter's overstaying of his invitation. Jackson was dealing with several personal problems, such as legal challenges and public scrutiny, during that period. Looking back on their time together, Barry saw that Michael was using their friendship as a way to escape from his own troubled life, even if they had fun at first. As Barry remarked, Jackson felt so alone amid his celebrity that he had no idea who his pals were. With Jackson's regular visits, Barry eventually found it difficult to maintain a balance in his family life. In the morning, I had to rise and shine. According to him, I'm 12 years my senior. I finally told Michael, "You've got to go, regardless of where you were headed." The event started a discussion on the difficulties that even real friendships might face due to the demands of becoming a celebrity. Another big controversy is the rumors that circulated concerning Barry's faithfulness during his marriage to Linda Gray. Speculation swirled, particularly during his 1980 collaboration with Barbra Streisand on her album Guilty, despite his repeated claims that he had been faithful throughout their partnership. Speculation about a potential romance persisted despite the parties' denial of any romantic involvement. Although temptations emerge in every long-term relationship, particularly one involving a celebrity, Barry honestly responded to these charges by noting that he has always prioritized Linda. When other women expressed interest in him, he would laugh it off, but he would insist that he would never cheat on his wife. The horrible secret is now exposed. The horrific truth about Barry Gibb's battle with addiction is finally revealed by his son after years of conjecture, the hidden struggle. Stephen Gibb, son of Barry Gibb, has spoken frankly about how his battle with addiction transformed his life and sense of self. Even at an early age, Stephen was fighting an addiction. When he was 14 years old, he drank a bottle of Jack Daniels and passed out. That was his first experience with alcohol. His marital problems as an adult stem from his history of drug and alcohol misuse in his youth. Stephen, like his father and uncles before him, felt an overwhelming draw toward music as he navigated adolescence. Nonetheless, he endured immense pressure to live up to the Gibb tradition. Being a member of one of the most famous musical families in history added another layer of complexity to an already fragile mental condition. Stephen's substance abuse progressed from alcoholic beverages to increasingly dangerous drugs like cocaine. He said he felt more and more alone and hopeless as his addiction spiraled downward. In a podcast episode titled Addiction Talks, he said that he felt as though he was experiencing a fog. Even the most basic tasks become enormous obstacles. In sharp contrast to the illustrious life that the Gibb name is often associated with, Stephen found himself without a house after losing a gig with his band. His memory of the times he prayed no one would notice him in his pathetic condition as he rummaged through trash cans outside recording studios for food was clear as day. He remembered that he had been making do with his vehicle or any other available shelter. "I counted myself lucky if someone would let me crash on their couch." Stephen managed to come to a turning point in his life despite the gloom that engulfed him. Death, jail, or a mental facility were the inevitable outcomes of his current course of action. He had come to terms with it. A yearning for change was ignited by this moment of insight. To put it simply, he had to make a decision. I had a choice: continue down this path or fight for my life. Stephen started to seek assistance for his addiction with the support of his family, particularly Barry and Linda, and a strong sense of commitment. The path to recovery wasn't smooth for Stephen. He needed unwavering determination and strength. He finally confronted the issues that had plagued him for so long after completing rehabilitation. Through therapy and peer support, he was able to overcome his addiction and regain faith in himself. During addiction discussions, Stephen hoped to shed light on the disease by sharing his personal experience with addiction. His motivation was selfless, and he hopes it may help others going through the same things. To encourage others to get treatment when they need it, he stressed the need for open dialogue regarding mental health and drug misuse. Stephen Gibb is doing well as a musician and has also made it out of his addiction. As a way to pay homage to the family name and guitar-playing heritage, he has begun performing on stage with his father. Steve Gibb, meanwhile, is married and settling down with 2 little children. He lives in the same city as his father. Stephen has confessed, but what do you make of it? Leave a comment and tell us. Remember to show your support by subscribing, liking, and sharing the video. Thank you for watching. Tap on the next video that appears on your screen to see more great videos.